Have you ever watched a titan slowly realize that the kingdom he built is crumbling right before his eyes? We are witnessing a level of frustration that transcends a simple regular season loss. We are watching the slow-motion disintegration of a superstar's belief in his franchise. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today, we aren't just talking about a basketball game. We are dissecting a moment that could fundamentally shift the balance of power in the NBA for the next half-decade. The Los Angeles Lakers have been frustratingly, almost maddeningly quiet as the February 5th trade deadline approaches. Fans have been screaming for reinforcements, analysts have been scratching their heads, and the general consensus was that the front office was asleep at the wheel. But what if that silence wasn't incompetence? What if that silence was the sound of a predator waiting in the tall grass? The news breaking out of Milwaukee this week suggests exactly that. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the two-time MVP and the cornerstone of the Bucks, sounds absolutely miserable. And for the purple and gold, that misery is the sweetest sound they've heard all season. Let's set the scene properly. Wednesday night, the Bucks faced off against the Oklahoma City Thunder and were dismantled in a 122-102 loss. But the score is the least interesting part of this story. It was the aftermath, the raw, unfiltered emotion that spilled out in the locker room. That has the entire league on high alert. When a leader steps up to the microphone, you usually expect cliches. We need to execute better, or it's a long season. We didn't get that. We got a manifesto of broken trust. Giannis didn't mince words. He looked the media in the eye and delivered a scorching critique of his teammates and the team's culture. He said, "We're not playing hard. We're not doing the right thing. We're not playing to win." Let those words sink in for a moment. He didn't stop there. He accused the team of lacking chemistry, of players being selfish, and of guys trying to look for their own shots instead of looking for the right shot for the team. This is not normal frustration. This is a systemic indictment. Historically, when we see superstars of this caliber publicly shred their team's effort, the clock starts ticking. Think back to Anthony Davis in New Orleans right before his exit, or the tension in Cleveland during LeBron's final days there. The body language changes. The patience evaporates. This context is critical because it validates the Lakers' controversial strategy of inaction. For months, the rumors have swirled that Los Angeles is holding steady, refusing to burn draft capital on marginal upgrades like a backup center or a spot-up shooter. Why? Because insiders like Zach Lowe have hinted that the front office is bypassing good moves now to preserve their assets for a great move later. And there is no move greater than landing the Greek Freak. The emotional weight of this cannot be overstated. Imagine being a Lakers fan right now. For weeks, you've felt neglected, watching other teams make trades while your front office sits on its hands. But suddenly, that frustration turns into a nervous, electric excitement. This news vindicates the patience. It suggests that the front office isn't sleeping, they are plotting. They understand that the current roster, even with a minor trade, might not be enough to topple the Celtics or the Nuggets. But a roster with Giannis? That changes the geometry of the entire NBA. We are looking at a situation where the misery in Milwaukee is directly fueling the hope in Los Angeles. The connection is undeniable and the tension is palpable. The question isn't just about whether the Bucks can fix this. It's about whether Giannis has already mentally checked out, opening the door for the heist of the century. So, how real is this possibility? And what are the mechanics behind a move that would shatter the NBA's salary cap landscape? Let's dive deep into the analytics, the financial implications, and the strategic warfare happening behind closed doors. When we analyze the Lakers' current holding pattern, we have to look at the cap hit and asset management perspective. In the modern NBA, draft picks and young talent are the currency of the realm. If the Lakers were to panic buy right now, sending out a first-round pick for a decent role player just to save this specific season, they would effectively be emptying the chamber before the big game even walks into the clearing. Acquiring a player of Giannis Antetokounmpo's magnitude requires a Godfather offer. We are talking about multiple unprotected first-round picks, pick swaps, and matching salaries that likely involve key young players. If you spend those assets now on a Band-Aid solution, you are mathematically eliminated from the Giannis sweepstakes in the summer. It is a binary choice: instant gratification or a dynasty-altering swing. Let's bring in the expert chatter. NBA insiders have been buzzing about this awkward juggling act the Lakers are performing. They are trying to maximize the final years of LeBron James while simultaneously preparing for the next era. The report suggests that acquiring Antetokounmpo would finally resolve the timeline crisis. Think about the fit. We aren't just talking about adding a star. We are talking about creating the most physically imposing front court in the history of the sport. The defensive potential alone, pairing Anthony Davis with Giannis, would create a rim protection rating that breaks analytical models. However, we have to look at the other side of the coin. What if they wait and the trade never happens? This is where the voice of the fan becomes deafeningly loud and incredibly divided. If you check the forums and social media right now, you see a civil war among the fan base. Half the crowd is furious, arguing that wasting a healthy LeBron James season by waiting for a savior who might not come is malpractice. They point to the risks: injuries, the Bucks refusing to trade to the Lakers out of spite, or another team like the Knicks or Thunder swooping in with a better package of draft picks. The other half of the fan base sees the long game. They argue that the current roster has a ceiling, and no role player raises that ceiling to a championship level. They believe that pain now is the price to pay for glory later. Let's look at the Bucks' perspective, because they hold the cards. Despite Giannis's scorching comments, Milwaukee is unlikely to move him before this February 5th deadline. It makes zero business sense. A midseason trade limits the bidding war. If the Bucks decide to blow it up, they will do it in July, when every team has their draft picks reset and cap space cleared. This creates a terrifying waiting game for Los Angeles. They have to endure the rest of this season, likely underperforming, while holding on to the hope that Giannis doesn't sign an extension and forces his way out. The selfishness Giannis mentioned in his post-game rant is the key indicator here. When a star complains about missed shots, that's fixable. When a star complains about selfishness and culture, that is usually terminal. It speaks to a locker room that has lost its hierarchy. We saw this with the Brooklyn Nets before the Harden/KD/Kyrie breakup. We saw it with the Clippers during the Lob City implosion. Once the chemistry creates toxicity, the Supermax contract becomes irrelevant. The player wants out. The Lakers are banking on this historical trend holding true. They are betting that the misery we heard in Giannis's voice against the Thunder wasn't just a bad mood, it was a declaration of independence. This validates their strategy, but it also places immense pressure on the summer. If they wait and fail, the front office will have some serious explaining to do. We are staring down the barrel of a defining summer, and the question remains, is the dream of the Greek freak in purple and gold worth sacrificing the present? As we wrap up this analysis, let's project into the future. The roadmap is becoming clearer by the day. Giannis Antetokounmpo has handed the Lakers the blueprint. By publicly calling out his team's lack of heart and cohesion, he has signaled to the league that he is reachable. For the Lakers, acquiring him would be the ultimate solution to the timeline problem. For years, the franchise has been stuck in a purgatory between win now with LeBron and build for the future. Giannis is the bridge. He is in his prime, ready to win immediately, but young enough to carry the torch for another 7 to 8 years. It transitions the team seamlessly from the LeBron era to the Giannis era without a painful rebuilding period. However, we must be realistic about the hurdles. The scenarios for the offseason are volatile. If the Bucks lose in the first round of the playoffs, the noise will become deafening. Giannis simply turning down a contract extension is the leverage point. It's the soft trade request that precedes the real one. But if the Bucks manage to turn it around and make a deep run, the Lakers will be left standing at the altar with nothing to show for their patience. That is the terror and the thrill of NBA team building. It is high-stakes poker with billion-dollar franchises. Ultimately, these comments from Giannis are the vindication the Lakers front office needed to justify their quiet deadline. It proves they aren't inactive, they are disciplined. They are hunting big game in a league of scavengers. The misery in Milwaukee is the oxygen for the Lakers' ambition. We are watching a narrative unfold that could result in one of the greatest trios or duos, depending on who goes out, in basketball history. The potential of seeing Giannis run the floor at Crypto.com Arena is a tantalizing prospect that makes every frustrating loss in the meantime seem like a calculated stepping stone. Reflect on this, guys. In the NBA, chaos is a ladder. The Bucks' chaos is the Lakers' ladder. Whether they can climb it without falling remains to be seen, but for the first time in months, there is a legitimate path to a super team future. The league is shifting and the power dynamics are fluid. The silence from Los Angeles isn't weakness, it's the calm before the storm. Now, I need to hear from you because this debate is tearing the community apart. Are you willing to punt on this season and suffer through the losses if it means a legitimate 50% chance at landing Giannis in the summer? Or do you think the bird in the hand is worth two in the bush and the Lakers should go all in right now while LeBron is still elite? This is the toughest question in sports management today. Drop your take in the comments below. I read every single one of them. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the trade market madness, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more exclusive breakdowns. Let's see who really understands the long game.